Alrighty, and action. All right, guys, welcome to another episode of Khordmaster Keys. Very excited about today's episode. We have what I'm going to call app developer extraordinaire, Michael here. And we're here today to talk about this app that I so eloquently posted. I have my iPad mini here. I have to read this because I think it's pretty funny. I'm not going to read the whole thing, just the top part. But I posted like on social media to kind of get some like questions and get people excited for this conversation because I was so excited about it. And I said that a seismic shift is on the horizon for iOS music production. Loopy Pro for iOS is coming, and I'm thrilled to be interviewing blah, 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 blah. And, you know, I asked people for questions and I let them know like when they can expect this to be live premiered on YouTube. And the very first comment on here made me laugh. And I'm just going to read that really quick. This person says, seismic shift, huh? Elvis on Ed Sullivan was a seismic shift. The Rolling Stones not wearing suits was a seismic shift. The Sex Pistols album was another. Well, I've got my popcorn. Let's see if this measures up. That being said, Michael, how are you doing today, man?
After that, I'm feeling pretty nervous, actually.
Perfect. Mission accomplished.
I'm meant to be lowering expectations, not raising them at this point.
That's a big word, seismic, right? Like, what? How do I know that it's going to be a seismic shift until it actually comes out, until time has passed, right?
I know, we can only hope. Hopefully that's what I'm aiming for. So we'll just have to see, I guess.
That's it. How you feeling today? All good today?
I'm feeling the approach of the end of the year. It's definitely the days are speeding by. Yeah. And given that I want to have this thing out well before Christmas, I'm getting down to it now.
Yeah, you sure are.
But fine. This is all part of the last few stages before launch.
Yeah. Man, I'll tell you this. So I've only used Loopy the previous iteration, just called Loopy Pro or Loopy HD, I think. Loopy HD. This one is Loopy Pro. So I've only used Loopy HD a little bit in the past, but I knew that, and I knew a lot of people who used it, and I knew that that this was on the horizon, right? Before you put out that video that kind of made me feel that it's going to be a seismic shift when you put the sort of overview video out. I was in the gym, I was working out, and then one of my iOS music producer, social media friends, messaged me and so sent me the link for that video. And I just immediately, I usually do 30 minutes of some lifting weights or something, and then 30 minutes of cardio. And I had just started lifting weights. I was like, no. This is gonna be a different workout here. I was like, I don't have time to finish this. I need to watch this video right now. So I proceeded to end the workout, go on the Stairmaster, and I just started watching it. And it got me extremely excited. I think in the community of iOS music, it's there's a ton of apps to use. There's a ton of different apps that are going to work better for one person's workflow versus another. For example, Core Gadget is one that I use all the time, but I know many people that can't get over the vertical workflow, that there's no horizontal timeline that a lot of people are used to. Whereas me, I prefer it that way. So it's it's cool that there's so many options. And this particular one, man, just got me excited. The colors, the circles, I just remember seeing all these, it looked really appealing. And then the way that you did the overview, I felt was really nice, and not simply a 30-second, which could have been perfectly fine too if you didn't want to share that much, if you wanted to do a teaser. But it was a thorough and exciting sort of thing. So
thank you.
Yeah, you're very welcome. We're definitely excited about it, and we're going to get into all that. But I want to start off kind of learning a little bit about you, and then we'll kind of go from there. So I want to kind of chat with you a little bit about your sort of background, like who was young Michael, where did you grow up, and maybe signs in that early stage of your life about sort of being interested in app development, things like that.
Yeah, young Michael was as much of a nerd as current Michael, actually. I think I started programming when I was about 6. A friend got me into it, and we had a loaner from my mother's school, an Apple IIe, green screen, clackety-clack keyboard. And it had BASIC as the sort of the built-in programming language, and we would, program little cool graphical things, put random dots on the screen, and that was sort of where I got started. And I've been, my playtime has been messing around developing stuff pretty much ever since then. So that's the development side. And I grew up with music. I started playing the trombone with school because my parents had one. There was really no other reason.
Yep.
And I think if I had a choice, I possibly would have chosen something else, but it was enough to sort of get me on board. Since then, I've really got into traditional Irish music, of all things. I've been playing fiddle for a year and concertina for about 2 months now.
Nice.
And adore it, but it's about as far as possible from the iOS music world as you can get. So here's my big confession. I don't really do electronic music or, music production in that sense. There's that term in software, eating your own dog food. I don't do that.
That is fascinating. Yep.
If I have some spare time, I'm playing with new features or, I'm building. So I tend to, I think the side effect of that is that I have to lean quite heavily on the community for telling me where I'm going wrong with things and for also offering ideas. I mean, I have plenty of my own ideas, and I think somewhat that's informed by not growing up with this stuff. I don't have a lot of the ideas that are present in a lot of music software. I'm not necessarily familiar with. When I first built Loopy, almost 10 years ago now, maybe even more, I didn't even know what overdubbing was. I was a complete newbie, but I made it anyway. And then along the way, I learned the terminology and how other things worked. And so I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but it certainly it gives me a sort of unique approach to this stuff. I don't feel like I'm sort of stuck in old ways of doing things. And I think that works out well sometimes, not well others. But fortunately, I have an amazing, supportive user base who are quite happy to point out when I'm doing things wrong.
And being able to lean on that is incredible. Being able to lean on people, like it's kind of the best of both worlds, right? Like you said, you're able to kind of think a little bit more freely, not being someone who traditionally uses this type of an app for your music needs, but then knowing, as you mentioned, that there's like a vast array of people who, including myself, right, who are all about it, right? Who are all about mobile music and how powerful iPads are and how fun it is to be able to bring this lightweight piece of equipment to a coffee shop, to a park, sit in the middle of a field, throw some headphones on and just get inspiration from nature, from the environment, right? Versus traditionally being on a computer, mouse, keyboard, clicking away, in the other traditional DAW sense of the word. So I can totally relate and understand that perspective for sure.
It's interesting. I guess time will tell how it goes with Loopy Pro. Hopefully
That's it. Yeah. Well, like I said, it's an exciting sort of time, right, for iOS music. And I would say even like reaching out to you, Michael. So I interviewed your counterpart / contemporary, let's say, right, koala sampler Marek. I had him on, and it was one of the milestone episodes, I would say, in terms of interviewing people, just because it was one of the first, I think it was the first episode where it was a music related product or service or app that I used all the time, and now being able to kind of pick the brain of the creator of it was just an amazing experience, as you could imagine. So
that's amazing from the other side too.
How so?
Well, being able to talk directly to users, which is something that bigger companies can't do, is ridiculously valuable. And being able to have, and I know companies, big companies like Ableton or IK Multimedia or whatever, they do have people who will talk to users and sort of pass that stuff back eventually. But being able to be the developer, the one who does all the stuff, and being able to talk to users, and over the last weeks, I've been working really closely with the testing community, and it's I'll get stuff and I'll build it in the next sort of 20 minutes after we've talked, and it's really great to have that back and forth, that sort of collaboration. So it's nice from this side too.
I could that definitely makes sense. And it's probably like being the one-man show is probably obviously presents its other challenges and things like that, but like you mentioned, you're so intertwined with it, and being able to be that person that's communicating with the
I love
testers. It's great, yeah, because it's less chance of what things getting missed in translation and stuff, right? As it being fed back to you.
I think the more people that you add to a team, I mean, you could probably work faster, says the guy who's just long past his 7th year into this project. But
Wow.
I think you lose a certain agility, perhaps, or even just a single point of, there's that saying that what is the saying? The name for you know what? I've completely lost it. There's something about a horse and a camel.
Okay. Uh-huh.
A camel is a horse designed by committee. There you go.
Okay.
And I feel like there's at least the risk for a part of that in larger teams that you get a camel, because a lot of minds all working together, not necessarily pulling the same way. And I like just not having to deal with any of that.
Yeah.
I like being a lone wolf. That's not to disparage any larger teams. I think there are plenty of products made by large teams which are fantastic, but I like being just me.
Yeah. Well, I got to say this too, as a sidebar. I totally forgot that camels were a thing until you just mentioned it, and I'm just thinking about how interesting and strange those animals are. It's pretty interesting, right? Like two humps. Like, what's going on there? What's happening?
Yeah.
Oh,
I feel like I've really not done well by camels, actually. I think camels are actually quite good.
Uh-huh.
I don't know why they're meant to be worse than horses.
Yeah,
They're amazing. Put a horse out in the desert for a couple of weeks and there's no more horse.
There's no chance, right? So there's like water in those humps. I don't even know. Is that what it is? I think they store water in there.
I think it's water storage.
Something
I don't
like
know.
that. Yeah, I'm gonna have to look that up later. How do we get here, Michael? Like, what's going on? We're talking about camel, and I love it, by the way. We're talking about camels here. Like who would have
important
thunk it?
issues?
Exactly.
Well, we haven't got into my camel related functionality in Loopy Pro yet, so it'll all become clear.
It'll materialize at some point in this conversation for sure. Yeah, you mentioned lone wolf, so like that's one of the things that moves me right now is having an impact, having a positive impact in people's lives, potentially leaving a legacy, that type of thing. I watch a lot of Shark Tank, listen to a lot of How I Built This. That's a podcast about, people who do lead amazing entrepreneurial type lives that really change the foundation with their inventions and stuff. And so like when I talk to someone who, and you said over 7 years. So this means that you had, and that's not even including the previous iteration of Loopy. So you had that out for a few years, and then you, at some point 7 years ago, said, "Oh, this is great for what it is." You were featured on Jimmy Fallon, if I'm not mistaken, weren't you?
Yeah.
Exactly. So I think that's how I found out about it. As a matter of fact, they did like a nice little. I was like,
cool.
This is pretty cool. Oh, and I have another good question for you coming up soon. Actually, before I forget it, I'm going to ask it right now. So, when it comes to looping on the recording vocals or looping on the iPad, I know that any looping in general, like in order to mitigate and get rid of feedback, like you need to have headphones on so that it doesn't get like the previous version, the previous loop, and doesn't get the metronome, all that kind of stuff.
It is a notoriously difficult thing to solve.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. It's probably about 60% of my support burden.
Wow.
Helping people
When you say it, you mean the fact that is a truth, or the fact that people want to be able to loop freely with just the iPad and be able to, is that, because I know you have I saw a feature in there when I was messing around yesterday that was what was it called, the calibrating microphone. I took that as removing the sound of the previous loop if possible. Like is that kind of what's going on there?
Yep. That's pretty much what it does. It's not perfect. It's still a work in progress. The truth is I spent, I don't know, a month and a half on it, and then decided, it's good enough for now, and I'll tweak it later on. But it's pretty good. It's pretty good. With my iPad here, I can get to the point where all you hear is the room echo, not the direct line back. So if I had anything but hard walls in here, it would be pretty good.
Wow.
So yeah, I built that because of the support burden with Loopy HD, with people contacting me and saying, I'm trying to use this thing and it's always, I'm getting the old loops, put in the new loops. Can you fix it? And I would have to go, you have to use headphones. It's not going to work with, I don't really want to have to keep saying that. I want to be able to just have it work.
Right.
So that's what the echo cancellation stuff is. I went deep with digital signal processing on that one.
Yeah. So this is all right. So this is great then. So me as a user, I have, I guess you consider a power user. I have a lot of equipment. I have a lot of capabilities that maybe the average person may not. When it comes
You're
to,
going to be the one with 10,000 buttons on the Loopy Pro screen, aren't you?
I can't wait. I can't wait. All color coded, just like color coded to kind of reflect the mood of the song. You know what I'm saying? Like something kind of intricate,
I like that.
Yeah, something like light blues or like reds if it's kind of intense.
It's got to look good.
It has to. It has to. You can't just be just thrown about just random colors. Although random colors, maybe maybe there's a random button to kind of. We'll talk about that stuff in a second. My question, however,
it's got to be hue sorted.
Yeah, exactly. My question is say if you have a pair of headphones without I have these headphones. I mean, these headphones do have a microphone in them. They're wireless, like Sony headphones, or I have Bose ones as well. But say if I had like just a pair of regular headphones that I plug into my iPad Pro with USB-C adapter or whatever. Once I plug that in, from my understanding, in most apps in general, it will not allow me to like still use the microphone on the iPad because it's automatically thinking that you're plugged into something that you're using this microphone, whether there is or is not a microphone. So I'm wondering, is that something that you've encountered? And is that something, because like to me, that would be so simple if I was able to just grab any headphones, use it. And I know it's not going to be the best quality for the microphone on the iPad, but it would be convenient. I don't have to carry around a headset or do that type of thing. That's why I rarely, if ever, have gotten into the looping scene on the iPad, because it's kind of cumbersome having to have the accessory always with you.
Yeah, if only it was so simple. Unfortunately, a lot of that stuff, because iOS was never intended as a professional audio platform, there's a lot of stuff which, it's great now, but there's still a lot of things which don't have feature parity with the desktop system, with the Mac. So iOS, if you plug in a piece of audio gear that's got an input, it's going to use that input. There's nothing you can do about it. And that's a system level thing. There is a thing which was introduced a few years back called multi-route, and that lets you plug in more than one audio interface, and then you can choose from that. But for some reason, it doesn't let you do anything with that decision about using the built-in microphone or not.
Yeah,
it's strangely limited. So yeah, I think you're going to have to just neuter your headphones and remove its mic.
yeah, gotcha. And that's like you said, a system-wide sort of situation.
Yeah.
So you said 6 years old. So going back to your backstory a little bit, you said 6 years old when you started showing signs and started coding and things like that. If I were to ask the question of like when you started creating the first iteration of Loopy HD, sort of let's like think about, I guess, I don't know, like the months leading up into you having that thought like, oh, this is what I want to do. I have an idea about this. I think this will be cool. I don't see anything like this available right now. I want to kind of try this out and see how it goes. I would like for you, like, if possible, I know that was many years ago, but like to kind of, I guess, take a trip down memory lane and like, how did that sort of go for you, right? Like, how was that thought process kind of generated? Did it come from out of the blue? Did it come from, oh, I had an idea years ago and now it kind of resurfaced?
Yeah, this is classic me. I was that point probably about 1.5 or 2 years into a PhD in ad hoc networking, of all things. Wow. And if I explained it, I would fall asleep on the spot, so I won't. But I was procrastinating.
Okay.
So I had, I think the catalyst was I'd come across, at least this is the story I tell. I can't remember it anymore, but I remember the story.
Yeah.
The catalyst is a video that I saw on YouTube by Imogen Heap, who is an artist who I adore and used to listen to almost exclusively. And she did a live looping version live for a radio show, I think, but it was popped on YouTube as well. And I watched it and went, wow, that's amazing. I didn't know anything about live looping before. And this is funny given that I don't actually do it myself, but I wanted to. I wanted something that would let me do that. And I didn't really want to go out and buy a loop pedal or anything like that. In fact, I don't think I even knew that loop pedals existed.
Yeah.
So yeah, I had this new iPhone. I'd recently got on board, and I knew that you could develop apps for it. So I thought I'd give it a go. That was all. That there was no, there was no looking at other products. There was no strategizing a business model. I just wanted to make something cool, and I can't believe that I've managed to make a career out of it. It was a complete fluke.
Yeah.
Yeah. And by the way, the PhD, gonna finish any day now. It's 98% there.
Yeah. There you go. I'm laughing because I don't know for sure. Meaning you had it started many years ago. You are not really planning on finish, or are you serious? Like, I can't tell.
No,
Not happening,
just
right?
between you and me, no, I don't think it's going to happen.
No time.
Yeah, the funny thing is, the reason I chose to do a PhD was not so much interest in the topic itself, but it was just wanting to keep my options open.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd heard that if you wanted to work at all the really interesting companies, Apple, Google, whatever, Facebook didn't even exist then,
Mm-hmm.
but you really, like, you needed a PhD. That was sort of the entry criteria. That was the first step.
Right.
And so I thought, well, I've got nothing better to do right now. Might as well go in and do the PhD, and got a scholarship, so the money thing was fine. And yeah, I've since turned down a bunch of job offers from those companies.
Yeah.
Because I think I found what I want to do. But it's that classic dropout story, you know, just, yeah.
Mm-hmm. It makes sense, man.
That's not the direction I wanted to go.
Anytime I come across people, Michael, who are, you know, doing something different than most, which is what I'm also doing, right? Something different than most. When I say like something, you know, entrepreneurial route, something that you're passionate about, something that sure is challenging, of course, but it's something that's motivating. You know, it's self-motivating. You're excited about it. You wake up thinking about it. And you know that it's going to leave an impact in people's lives. I think you have an opportunity, for me at least, to I just really appreciate those, the interactions, you know, that I have, you know, with those individuals. I mean, engineering background myself, and I left working for Verizon. I worked there for 12 years before becoming a middle school math teacher, and that was 2 years ago. And now, fast forward, you know, post-COVID, I left teaching full time to, have my math tutoring and piano lesson business, which is doing, you know, incredibly well now. It's something that I'm passionate about, making that impact sort of on my terms, and being able to strategize how to best provide a service for people who are really struggling, you know, amidst COVID and everything. And that's taking 2 days out of my week in terms of the days that I'm actually tutoring. And then the other days, I mean, what a blessing to be able to be sitting in front of this keyboard and do live streaming, sitting in front of in this seat to be able to connect with people like you. It's something that I don't take for granted for a moment. And I'm just, super excited about when I do have these types of conversations, because it's relatable. And I've experienced, at least, that this hasn't always been me, right? I was working at Verizon at a time, and maybe, you know, a lot of people would have assumed that I'm going to continue moving up the ranks possibly, or just have that be my thing. I knew in the back of my mind.
Becoming a manager, shudder.
Exactly. And have that title and be like, oh, you know, and I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. Don't get me wrong. But
sure,
for me, it wasn't the move, you know, as days and days go on, I just feeling like, man, you know, the job pays well. The job has flexibility. I wasn't stressed. I was good at it. But it was something, I think what it was something about, I mean, the only stress that was associated with it was a stress of knowing that I want to be, I'm called to be, and want to be doing something different. And putting so many hours into not doing that different thing. That was like the thing that, as time went on, I'm like, okay, I need to, you know, make this change. And yeah, it's great because, like, I don't know if you could relate to this. Let me know, like, you know, in terms of your circle, your friends, your family, people that are close to you, if you have people who are not necessarily doing something similar to what you're doing, they're going more of the traditional path. Sometimes it's hard to relate to them, right? And to really kind of share your challenges. I mean, sure, people that care about you, they'll listen, they'll be there and stuff like that. But like, it does get a little bit challenging. Some might call it lonely when when your circle doesn't necessarily have people that can relate truly to what it is that you're doing.
Yeah, I feel, and I think it's a ridiculous blessing to be able to do this. I think there are some opportunities that came along in my life which I don't at all claim credit for. This is purely luck that allows me to find myself in this situation. Mm-hmm. And I often feel a little bit of guilt that I'm the one that gets to do this. You know, I do have plenty of friends who work in the corporate world, and you know, I've got a good friend who's so good. In fact, quite a few of my friends are so good at what they do, they're not allowed to do it anymore. Like I said, they manage people now.
Okay. Oh,
And
okay.
and I can just, I feel like, their butt their butt for the grace of God go I. And yeah, and I feel like I wish I could reach into their lives and provide an opportunity to just follow whatever it is that they like to do. And I think that's a notoriously difficult thing to do, to both to, I think there are a few things. There's being able to have the time and the space to think about that and think, what would I do?
Yeah.
And part of what enabled me to do that was that we decided to leave the country and travel in a motorhome for years and years.
Ah, nice.
And it was the being pulled out of my life and thrust into something completely new that gave me a perspective. But yeah, I think when you're working full time and your mind is on whatever it is that you're working on, it's very difficult to get some space necessarily to have those kind of ideas. But even if you have them, I think that there's, severe financial barriers to just stopping what you're doing and trying something else for a while. And I kind of wish that was built into the way that we do things as a society. I mean, there's talk about universal basic income and stuff, which I don't know enough to really have an opinion on, but I like the idea of it. I like the idea that people could get off the treadmill, and stop for a while and possibly try something new. Because if we were all allowed to do the thing that we feel passionate about, God, can you imagine what the world would be like? It would be, everything would be a love project.
Yeah. And how amazing is that to even think about, right?
Yeah. And it sounds like a utopia.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, when I talk with friends, I just feel guilty. I feel guilty that I'm allowed to do this and they're not.
That's super relatable in its own right. And it's like you said, like sometimes taking a moment to think about and appreciate the situation, that you've been put in. And also, I guess you could say acknowledging the fact that a lot of you and a lot of me have gone into, like, a lot of what we bring to the table as individuals, I believe, has gone into getting to the point that we're at right now. Sometimes, like, I remember talking to someone a while ago saying, like, I'm not a risk taker really much at all, which is true. Matter of fact, I was at a restaurant the other day, and I had an epiphany. I was at a pizza restaurant, and they have all these gourmet pizzas, and had an epiphany that was like, she was like, okay, what kind would you like? I'm like, there's a lot of good options on here. I was like, but I'm going to do what I usually always do, which is I like to do half and half, right? I don't want to just go all in on one type. And then I was like, I think I know the reason for that. The reason that I need to get half and half is because, God forbid, I order one of these types and it's not as good as I want it to be. I'll be devastated. I'll be like, damn it.
Yeah,
like,
I can relate.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I want to try.
I think that's just good. That's just good sense. Yeah. That's keeping your options open as long as you can. I think that's always in my life. I've always chosen the path that will keep as many options in front of me open. That's the way to go. If I could get quarters, I would in ordering pizza.
Or per slice or something. Man, yeah, they'd be like, sir, I need you to leave right now. Like, well, what did I do? What did I do? It doesn't say anywhere on the menu you can't do this. Come on. Like, what's going on?
It's a reasonable request.
I think so. Can we get like 8 other people in here to like kind of go all in on this, and we each get like a slice, and kind of it's something worth thinking about, possibly.
That's a sensible way to do things.
One would think so, for sure. All right, so this is what I want to do with this conversation. So I want to chat a little bit, just like a sort of rapid fire, sort of fun questions about you a little bit, so the viewers can kind of get to know you as a person, and then I want to go into some more questions about Loopy after.
Sure.
All right, so I want to start with a question about. I'm not going to ask you what is your favorite movie and your favorite TV show, because people are like, oh, I don't know, okay, calm down, it's okay. What I will ask...
Take me half an hour to decide.
Exactly. And I do the same thing. So I totally understand that. And I've learned this from asking it many times on the show. So I will say, name a movie and a show that you love.
I'm just saying this because it's in front of my mind right now, because you're seeing ads for it everywhere. But I adore Dexter. I think that is a great show.
Okay, nice.
Yeah, Dexter's great. But look, I think my top shows, is Buffy, West Wing... Battlestar Galactica. My God, that was an amazing show. The new one.
Wow.
The Ron D. Moore one. There you go. That's several films. I don't know. I think that's the one that would take me half an hour.
Okay.
I tend to watch more TV shows and films. I don't know if that's a. I like to go deep, in
Okay.
films that over so fast. I like to stay in a world for a while.
Yeah. Okay. Got you.
Yeah.
I'm kind of the opposite of that. I kind of, because of the risk thing and not being a risk, like I'm like, if I'm going to devote so much time to a show, unless if it's like one of those limited, I like limited miniseries or type things, like 6 to 8
Yeah, they're
episodes,
good too.
because I do agree with you. I think you get the best of both worlds where it's not like, yo, Kev, you got to check this show out. Oh, cool. What's the name? So and so. All right. How many seasons? Well, they're on season 6 right now, and you have to get through the first 2 seasons. But just trust me,
Oh,
I'm like,
that's dangerous.
not gonna happen.
Yeah.
Sorry,
I know that's a huge commitment.
It is. It is. One of my
Yeah.
favorite.
Maybe a nice trailer.
Say it again.
Maybe a nice trailer. I enjoy a nice trailer.
Okay, something succinct. Like let me just get the gist of what's going on here. I sometimes even think about that. I'm like a show like what's the name of that? Lost. People always talk about that being like one of those worlds that just like was fascinating. I probably watched one episode of it way back when, so I see myself never going back to it. But think of a show like Game of Thrones, which I loved. Did you watch?
Oh yeah, big fan of that one too.
Had to, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So like,
struggle with the books. I think a show was the ideal form factor for that story.
Okay. I haven't. I want to get into reading more. I haven't read the book. Certainly, I know people that have read it, and I've heard. I mean, most people that read it said that they loved it. I would say like the book, but I agree with you. I mean, the show itself, except for that last season, which was. Did you like the last season, or what do you think?
I have to watch it again before I could offer an opinion on that.
Okay.
I felt like it was so long ago.
Okay. It was a while ago. It was the only season that was created, from my understanding, before the book, the version of the book.
That's right. That was really interesting.
Yeah. So they
got ahead of it.
kind of on their own kind of thing, and you can kind of see it. And I was like,
such a weird situation to be in.
Very, very much so. But the conversation I was having earlier was just about the fact that creatively, there's someone on this earth that was able to think of this whole world and materialize it so in depth is almost unbelievable. So we were saying earlier, because I was recording another conversation like this, and we were saying earlier that, man, is this person from this earth, from this universe? Like how could someone think that vast? And there's a lot of that in terms of the creative mind. I mean, you were talking about the utopia of imagining everyone had the ability to pursue their passion. I don't know if any book or any screenplay or anything was ever written, with that as a space, but I think I would watch it. I would love to see someone like think that through and like put together, because like what would the world be like at that point? Like, I don't know. Let's explore it together and see. That's really interesting.
Yeah, people love world building. There's something which I think everyone should know about. There's a Dungeons and Dragons, or there's a show, probably a lot of people watching this might even already know about it. Critical Role they're in their 3rd season now. It's a live streamed version of Dungeons and Dragons, and it's been going since 2005 or something, forever.
Wow.
And it is incredible. I mean, this is one of the things I regret from my misspent youth programming. I kind of wish that I'd gotten into Dungeons and Dragons more, because just the. I mean, it's collaborative world building and storytelling, but most of it happens if you've got a good DM. That's the person that runs the game, Dungeon Master, who can run it. It's incredible. It's like a new, well, it's not that new, but it should be a new form of media. And watching Critical Role is like that, and it's like an epic. It's like watching an epic show like Game of Thrones. But Matt Mercer, who is the DM there, he has invented a complete world, and he instantiates it on the fly. Like while they're playing, they will he'll embody characters and do accents, and suddenly he becomes someone else, and he can do that for every part of the world. And the players who are doing their own thing with their own characters, they can move through this world and interact with anything at all, and Matt is there filling it in, and it's the most amazing thing to watch. It's world building, but it's live, and it's seamless. It's like there's an entire universe simulated inside Matt Mercer's head. It's wonderful to watch. I highly recommend it. It's on YouTube.
Wow. Well, I appreciate you sharing that, and I'm definitely excited to check that out. I've never played a game of Dungeons and Dragons before. I know how popular it is, and I know I have a couple of friends who are into it, who are going to be very excited when I share this episode with them. To tell them I'm gonna tell them to watch the whole thing, but specifically this part that they'll be more interested in, I'm sure, because they're not into music and stuff. But that does sound very interesting. So I appreciate you sharing that. I haven't heard of it before. That's really cool.
Yeah, we've just started a game, an international one actually. We've got some friends who live in the States who have put together a game, and there's some of us from the States. There's we Australians, and then there's a poor bloke in Granada in Spain who has to stay up all night for the games. But it's very good practicing new accents and being able to embody different characters.
Yeah,
I needed to warm up with that one.
That wasn't bad. That wasn't bad. I mean, I was not expecting the accent, so it kind of caught me off guard. But I was actually.
I need to warm up with that one.
Yeah. Oh man! Wait, so you're currently playing, which means that it's a game that you can play throughout the court. Like it's not a one-time sort of situation. You're like it's ongoing.
No, it's not. We all meet up on Discord, Zoom, effectively, multi-screen thing, and we play sort of at least once a month, maybe every couple of weeks, and our DM will lead us through the world, and we'll sort of offer clues, and we'll follow things, and she'll embody characters, and it's amazing. It would be much better face to face. It's difficult doing it with a screen in the way, but yeah, I mean, it's still great fun.
Still a great time. I'd say the closest, because the closest I've come to that type of a game is Settlers of Catan. I know it's not in the same breath, but it's like not me saying the closest I've come is this game called Checkers. Have you heard of it? Like it's kind of
yeah, that's right.
It's kind of like somewhat.
Have you heard of tennis?
Yeah. It's like, Kevin, that has nothing to do with what we're talking about. Were you even listening to the earlier part of the conversation?
It's in the same universe, though. The tabletop gaming world
exactly.
and the RPG world, they're fairly close.
Okay, so in the similar...
And one is often a bridge to the other, the gateway drug.
There you go. I love playing that game, although I haven't in many, many years. I probably will find a way to play it again with people who are interested sooner than later because we're talking about it. But yeah, man, that's cool. The person who I'm thinking of, his name is Dan. I'm gonna message him later and see if they still play. And I would be down to, like, the one time that I was invited and we were gonna do it. I think something happened where they had to cancel it, and then it just kind of got lost in translation. But I'm definitely
Was it a pandemic perchance?
It might actually be this thing called COVID or something like that. I don't know if there's.
Yeah.
But
it's a total buzzkill.
Yeah. Oh man, totally.
Yeah, but do it though if you have an opportunity.
Okay.
Oh man, it's fascinating. It takes it out of yourself, takes you out of yourself, and it's just fascinating. I know in the circles in which it is popular, but I think it's this really the best kept secret kind of thing. I think it's really great
in terms of creative stuff. Okay, well I'm definitely I'm all about it. I'm all about that. Yeah. All right.
Choose your accent.
Well, that's
a very important choice.
I'm gonna struggle with that probably. I guess you have to have no inhibitions. You just kind of go into it and just have fun with it, and don't be overthink it. Don't be too serious. That type of
but everyone else is doing it too, so you're not out there alone.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's very freeing.
Okay. I'm just
you don't have to go crazy.
Right. It could be a little something. Huh.
Yeah.
Okay, good to know. Random thought. I love doing things to get people's reactions, like weird things or funny things. And so the other day, my wife and I, why is this coming up in conversation? I don't know. I just feel like sharing it. We were at an arts and crafts store over here. My wife is into that stuff, arts and crafts and things like that. So we were in there, and there was a guy sitting down on a bench who was clearly not an employee of the store. You can sometimes for a fact this person's an employee, sometimes someone's not, and sometimes you're not sure, right? This person who's just sitting there just minding his own business on his phone doing whatever. So I walked up to him and
I just live here.
Serious face, straight face, and just asked him, "Excuse me, sir, do you know which aisle I can find?" And I was like acting as if he worked there, like no laugh, no nothing. And then he started answering. He's like, you know I don't work here. And I just like oh, I'm so sorry. Like I thought, like I really told I thought you worked here, like that type of thing. And it's like there's no one else around that's like I don't even think he found it necessarily funny or whatever. It was just like, oh, like a misunderstanding. But like it was entertaining to me. It was like I have to do this at least one more time. So I did, like later on in the start, because I was kind of bored. You know, she's looking at like signs and like paintings. I was like, I'm just gonna like entertain myself. Right? It was just funny. It was random stuff, you know.
Oh, that's great.
It's good stuff.
That's great. I think people should do random things like that more often.
Oh yeah. Just lighthearted. No malice. Right? Just very, just kind of just.
And a connection thing too. Like we live in such bizarre urban silos these days. You know,
Yeah.
you can't make eye contact with anyone on the train or.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think random stuff like that's good.
That's good. All right. Well, I'm glad we're on the same page there. All right. So if you have a
Next
chance,
time you need to do it in Gollum's voice though. Excuse me, precious.
well, if I was able to do that, then I definitely would. If I was able to do something
Some homework for you.
weird with my voice, then I definitely would. Yeah, it's. I'm glad you're like encouraging it. So now I'm like thinking of other ways to kind of like sort of embellish on it a little bit in the future. I'm very excited about this.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah.
So if you have a
Lots of
chance
opportunities there.
to talk to, not talk to, if you have a chance to have brunch with and then dinner with, these could be probably two different people, because brunch maybe is a little more turn up kind of situation. Dinner maybe a little bit more perspective. With anyone spanning the course of time is the way I usually word the question. If it's overwhelming for you, which I don't think it's going to be, I have a good pulse on you as a person at this point. I think you'll enjoy thinking about this. Who would you like to have brunch with, and then who would you like to have dinner with?
Wow. That is a difficult question for one who cannot make up his mind quickly.
We're gonna be here for like 40 minutes
God.
waiting.
My first thought went to, I'd quite like to pick, it's obvious, but Steve Jobs' brain. But you know what? I'm not sure I would actually want to have lunch or dinner, because I would be terrified.
Just because it's him.
I mean, that's an intimidating man.
Yeah, okay. Gotcha. Yep.
Oh, I honestly don't know. That's one of those things that I would have to go away and think about for a while, and then come back.
When we premiere the episode, it'll be on a Thursday. Like we said, we'll do it around the time that this comes out. You'll have, some time to think this through, and then we'll...
No, I'll post it in the comments.
There we go. At this part of the conversation, I'll be like, all right, boom. Look in the comments, everyone. There's the answers. Because people, I think it is an interesting question. Someone earlier said for the dinner... that she would love to have dinner with her grandma, who she knew very well, very close, no longer with us. And that kind of made me think, like most people who answer that question are instantly going to not, I think at least, not think about a family member, right? They're going to, myself included, right? I'm going to think about like, those like people who, like for me, like someone like Dave Chappelle, who I think is a comedic genius as well as like a philosophical thinker kind of person. Everything he says, I'm like interested in what he says. So like that would be someone who, one of those two iterations I would love to have with. But it's just it's a cool sort of thoughtful thing where, maybe we'll have a chance to. I mean, I'm sure like in the future, like some type of hologram thing. I have no idea, but like it's just fun to kind of like think about that as a scenario type thing,
Yeah. I haven't got a person, but I've got a class of person. I'm sure I could narrow in. I want to talk. I'm having a lot of fun exploring conspiracy theories at the moment, and I want to talk to someone who is deep in one of those, like in the Q world or the flat earther stuff. There's some amazing stuff, and I'm very kind of mainstreamy. I tend to sort of generally accept the narrative and such. But I've got a really good friend who's very much not that. He's very, very cynical about a lot of things.
Yeah.
And he's a musician, and all of his lyrics are all, the system is corrupt, and we're all being stomped on under the, it's very, and he believes it, and it's been a fantastic exercise to. He's one of those few people that I think. We live in such a polarized world at the moment that our senses of identity get swept up in the things that we believe. And if we get into a conversation about it with someone who believes something else, we're on the defensive, and people either clam up or get angry, and you just can't talk with people anymore.
Yeah.
It's really difficult to get through. But he's one of those rare people who will quite happily, have a back and forth, and it's very respectful, and I'm not trying to change minds and he's not trying to change minds, but we're just sort of seeing, where our worldviews meet or don't meet, basically, and trying ideas against each other, and what about this and what about this. And so I've been able to sort of go deep and find out why he believes the things that he does and how his mind works. And I would like to extend those explorations. I think it would be really interesting to talk to people who really believe the Q stuff, or that thoughtful people. And I think there's a lot of people who probably have been swept up with this stuff for other reasons, who might not have thought deeply about it. But there are people who have.
Yeah.
And I want to talk to those people and find out what makes their minds work, because it's very interesting. The flat earth stuff is fascinating.
Yeah.
There are lots of very scientific minded people who are in deep. And, there's this stuff about, why doesn't the sea fall off the edge? Well, it's the ice wall around the outside. That's the rim that holds the water in. What's beyond the ice wall? Well, there's more world out there.
Wow.
And you can tell because the moon is actually a reflection in the glass firmament of this world.
Yeah.
And you can see it extends, and oh man, it's amazing just how deep that stuff is.
Very deep.
And yeah, I love that stuff.
It's interesting having, like you mentioned earlier, having the ability and sort of the even keeledness to be able to have a conversation with someone who has a different opinion than you without getting offended. It's a two-way street, I suppose, right? Because if you're talking to someone who's making you feel like you're the dumb person for not believing what they're believing, then it can get difficult for sure. But I agree with you.
It has to be respect on both sides.
Absolutely. I agree with you that like there is something important to that, being able to listen to people who believe things different than you, because none of us probably are 100% right about anything, right? Everyone has like opinion. Maybe we're partly right on some things and wrong on others, of course.
And the other thing is, if we are right, it's not because we're better. We're just lucky. It's just that we happen to have had the right exposures, have the right inclinations towards things. It's all luck.
That's definitely
And conversation is all that we have. If we can't talk, we can't solve anything. In fact, I think that problem is even more concerning than the pandemic. It's if we can't talk about ideas, we can't do anything. Like it's game over for a society.
No chance.
If one side is just pitted against the other and there's just no ingress either way, it's all over. You got to be able to talk.
Well, you know what? I mean, this show that I have here, when I started it, part of the reason for it was because I was feeling as though I was having such amazing conversations with people one-on-one, and I'm just like, I want others to be able to be positively impacted by what we're talking about the same way that I'm being positively impacted by it. And that was sort of the origins to me starting this. And along the way, there's been a lot of changing and tweaking and kind of figuring things out, whether it's, do I niche down and focus in on one type of guest, specifically people in the music space, or even more niche down to like app developers and people making, music hardware and stuff? Do I, kind of go back to some of the previous conversations that I've had in the past with like the highest ranking African-American FBI agent in the history of that agency, which was, as you may, be able to imagine, just a profound, he's someone who used to work for Verizon, actually still might work there, but I left before he left, if he left. And just he was a mentor of mine and someone that I was just like he had the ability. I would go to his office sometimes and connect with him, and we meet every so often. And one of the things that he was able to do that just blew my mind, and I wanted to be able to do this as well and kind of hone in on my craft. We talk about communicating, is like this would be a random day in the middle of the day where I'm physically in the Verizon building, but I'm sitting in the C-suite in his office having a conversation with him. And I just remember multiple times he would be able to tell a story and I would feel as though I was not in the Verizon building anymore. I felt like I was sitting at the restaurant table with him and his son as they were having this conversation that changed his life, or that, whatever that story was. And it was just such a way about it that I was just like, that is uncanny. That, I mean, I don't think I've experienced that like ever with anyone else in terms of conversations like one on one. And I was just like, I want to be able to, if that's on the cards for me, I want to be able to have that type of an impact and be able to share stories and, share my journey with others and have other people be able to share their journeys on my platform as well. And that's kind of what got us to where we're at today, which is like, man, I mean, this is exciting. Like, so when I messaged you a couple of weeks ago, and you reached back, I think I had the idea when I saw your video that we referenced earlier, and I was like, I need to find a way to reach out to this individual. I didn't know how to reach you originally, right? I went on Twitter and I was like, is there a DM ability on Twitter? I don't even know if there is or not. So how do I find it? I went to the website. I wasn't sure exactly how to get your contact info and stuff. And then I think I got wind that you were on Instagram, and that's when I ended up reaching out to you. But when you responded right away, and that was like a monumental seismic shift for me, that you responded right away. And I just knew that, like, from a content creation standpoint, I knew that there were so many people that were going to be excited to hear from you and learn about you, just as was the case with Marek and with Tobias from Teenage Engineering.
I've got anything interesting to say?
Well, I know it just because I am, and I know that I was for Marek, and I know that a lot of people were really moved by it, and that remains one of like the better videos in terms of this format, the conversations on my channel. And so I ran to my wife, and I was like, Jess, I booked the developer for Loopy Pro. She's like, awesome. Huh? She's like, what's that? What's that though? Like, what does that mean? Like, what does it mean? Tell me more. So, it's just a great thing. And like I said, like a blessing to be able to have the platform, and definitely super appreciative of you taking the time out and being able to have conversations.
That's very kind.
Yeah, of course, man. Of course. Have conversations like this is really a nice thing.
It is. I really envy the ability of some people to be, you mentioned your friend in the Verizon building, that the ability of some people to tell stories that capture you and take you away. I've never been able to do that. And I swear there must be very interesting stories from my life. But I don't know how to tell them. And generally, in a conversation with someone, I'm sort of the receiver. Generally, I really enjoy hearing people's stories, and every single person is interesting. And I like prompting and discussing things that come up. But I can't really talk about myself. I'm not very good at it at all.
Well, then I shouldn't have booked you as a guest then, because that kind of defeats.
Yeah, that's right. We can just play D&D if you like from here on out.
Well, I'm expecting a Discord invite actually, because I wanna talk to that person from Spain. So it's because of the time zone thing. Is that what you were referencing? That it's like over?
Yeah, because we have to coordinate Australia, US, and Spain, and one of us is gonna lose out.
Odd man, odd woman out. Yeah.
Again, flat Earth. That's the way to go.
Clearly that has to be it. Clearly. All right, so this is what I'm going to talk about next. So I did a couple screenshots, and I'm going to go through a couple of just a couple of questions. Matter of fact, maybe even let's start with this. Well, I'm just going to kind of go through here and just see any questions that I think would be cool about asking that people had.
Cool.
So one of them is MIDI looping ? I guess the person's asking, is there MIDI looping? Will there be MIDI looping?
There is not, and there will be. Okay. Yes, that's something right from the beginning I wanted to do. It's just a matter of finding the time to put it in, really. And I it's like any creative endeavor. At some point, you just have to say, I'm going to get it out there. I could work. In fact, I will work on Loopy Pro possibly for the rest of my career. And
wow, that's a profound statement.
Going to keep on growing. Yeah, that's the idea. This is my dream project, and this is what I want to do.
Wow.
And if I can make it work financially, which I'm fairly confident that I can, I'm going to, and I'm going to keep on adding stuff. And MIDI looping will be, it'll be in 1.5.
Yeah.
It won't be long after release that I've left all the doors open for myself in the code base, and it's coming. Something that will also come, which is an idea that came up recently, is not just MIDI looping internally to Loopy, but also with audio units, because Loopy can host, synths and things, but it can also host sources of MIDI, like sequences. And something I'd like to do is to have a loop on screen, which isn't audio or isn't MIDI. It's basically a timeline loop that drives an external audio unit. So you can turn it on and off, and it starts and stops that audio unit's timeline. So that will be fun. And that's something I can probably do sooner too.
Wow.
But yeah, I think you'll find in this conversation when you say, does Loopy do blah? The answer will either be yes or soon. So this is my yes project. And I plan to hopefully do it all as long as I can find a nice way to do it.
So that's really great to hear. I think when I hear someone say that, like the way the platform appears from that video and from me using it just a little bit for the past day, and from getting feedback from others a little bit, people that I follow on Instagram and stuff, it has what appears to be like the foundation of like the premier way of making music on iOS, because of the things like you just mentioned, like audio units. For example, I have a slew of audio unit synths on my iPad that I rarely, if ever, use because it's a bit cumbersome for me. I haven't come up with a workflow to use AUM properly, or I really don't use like the Beatmaker 3s or Cubase. I don't really use those as much. Like Chord Gadget and Koala are like my two ways of making music. Chord Gadget doesn't host AUV3s. Koala, with the latest update, will allow you to use the AUM and kind of have a workaround, a workflow that makes it work. But like having like one app that can do like it all or a lot of it is exciting, just in terms of like simplifying it and not having to have multiple apps open. Like it kind of drains a little bit of the creativity for me when I have to have like too many different apps open to do.
I feel the same way.
Yeah.
This is funny coming from me because of course I built Audio Bus, which is the
work together.
Started this mess. Sure. But I too like having a one-stop shop. I mean, I think audio units are a must. I think they're great, and that's the exception there, because being able to have new sounds, both as effects and as instruments, is vital. But to have a unified workflow with everything in the same place and not having to deal with switching between apps or having to get into app communication working right, which it never did after Intrap Audio came on the scene. I think that's sort of part of the guiding vision for Loopy Pro, which is I want it to be able to be a place where you can do everything.
Yeah.
Although it works as an audio unit too, so you can use it in other things if you want. But my preferred thing is using it standalone.
Yeah, having it be
the center, the hub.
Yeah, that's gonna be so much fun. That's really something to look forward to. Just it's like Christmas morning kid kind of thing, right? Like when a new app like related to what you're all about comes out, and something so
that's a good feeling, isn't it?
Oh man, I can't even put it into words. Very, very exciting. Very exciting. All right, so let's see another question on here. So this person, we just answered that. Integration in my existing AUM workflow, does it feature multi-bus AUV3?
Yeah, that's the ability to send different loops out to different places in the thing. It will. It possibly will at launch.
Okay.
It's not in there just yet, but to be honest, I think it's probably the work of about half an hour to an hour.
Not too bad.
So I figure I might as well put it in. And probably multi-input as well, so you can rat it around. I'm assuming that'll be fairly tractable too. So yeah, it'll be in there. If it's not in there at 1.0, it'll be in there shortly after.
Yeah. One of my questions, so we were talking earlier about like headphones, like this, for example, that has a built-in microphone to it. So as far as you know, if I were to, when I take this out and use them as Bluetooth, I can talk on the phone, they can hear me, it's all good. But as far as you know, like if I were to plug these headphones in via USB-C adapter, is there a way to use this headphones? The headphones microphone to record, or would I need like one of those sort of headphones that has an extra port with a microphone sort of situation like that?
I don't know.
Not sure.
It depends on the headphones,
okay.
Probably.
Okay.
But chances are, if it's got, devices like that will present as an audio interface, which once you plug it in, the device will use everything that it has. So if it has a built-in mic, it should use it.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It will use it whether you want to or not, though. You can't
Something
decide,
else.
actually, I want to use the device's mic.
Gotcha.
Once you plug in, the device's mic is gone.
Gotcha. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and that is all Apple's thing. So the interface between the hardware and what we mere mortal iOS developers can actually do is fairly limited. You know, we get what we're given.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. No, that makes sense. This person was in a bad mood because they said, "Ask him why you can't label the damn loops."
You can label the damn loops. They're just not in the screenshots. The loop labeling is there. It's beautiful. It wraps the text nicely around the bottom of the loop.
Okay, that's what
it's all there.
That's what I thought. This person, Thomas, we're gonna check on you, Thomas. We're gonna check on you for sure.
Actually, I want Thomas on the beta test. I like the people that are rude.
Yes, yeah. And this person is pretty popular. A lot of laughs and a lot of hearts on that question for sure. All right. Please ask if it will be possible to create loops of different bar lengths set to whatever the tempo is and have them trigger to automatically overdub. This is very specific. At the end of a loop cycle until clicked on ending the overdub. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Of course.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
of course
part of it.
It's all built in. You can do. At some point, I'll do a walkthrough video showing all the track settings because there are a lot, and there are lots of different usage scenarios which you can configure with different combinations of them all, and that's definitely one of them.
That's awesome. Very cool. Let's see. Someone just gave you a compliment. Such a great app, a game changer for mobile music making. Thank you, Alan.
Oh, thank you.
All right, very nice.
I hope to live up to that.
There you go. I think you will. Don't be too modest right here. Here's a good question. Earliest iPad model iOS supported? Any idea?
I develop on an iPad Air 2,
okay,
which is now pretty old. And the reason I do that and I haven't bought a new iPad is because I want to make sure everything works nicely on it.
Gotcha.
I know one of the beta testers has an iPad Air 1. Apparently it works quite nicely.
Okay.
Someone else has a Mini.
Wow.
I have trouble believing that it's actually the original Mini because we have one which we use for, hooking up my little boy with screen time every now and then. It is abysmal. That is such a slow thing. So I will eat my hat if it works nicely on that. But anyway, you get the idea. It works on fairly old hardware.
Yeah.
Yep.
Man, exciting times ahead here. I just want to take a moment, right, again, to definitely say thank you for taking the time out, and it's a special thing. I mean, you're a great guy, like someone who I just really enjoyed the conversation, really enjoyed the thoughtfulness, and I think it's really nice for me and for others, in my experience with, like I mentioned, some of the previous conversations I've had, to just really understand the person, as well as people are going to be, maybe some people are going to be here for the information about the app, but I think there's like so much more behind that, kind of what goes into the making of it, and who the person is right behind it, is super exciting and interesting to me. So just want to definitely say thank you again for the time. And
it's my pleasure. Thank you for pulling me away from debugging. Before we had this conversation, I was digging into some code that was resulting in a little glitch at the loop boundary for just one particular track that a tester was able to send in, and that's my life at the moment. It's poring over code and sort of simulating in my head to try and figure out why is that happening there. I fixed the bug, by the way.
There you go.
But good lord, there are 140 items in my main to-do list and 101 in my inbox at the moment. So
wow. Never ends.
This is my life right now. So it's very nice to get away from it temporarily.
Yeah, well, I'm happy to hear that. Wait, so are you someone who would bring someone on board to help with things eventually? Do you see that as a part, or do you love the lone wolf mentality where you can't necessarily trust like having the workload spread out to other people?
Yeah, it's a good question. I have worked sort of in a small team before with Audiobus, and for a while, we had a very good other developer who sort of ran with Audiobus 3, I think it was, an Audiobus remote. He developed that, and I got to work on Loopy Pro, and that was really nice getting the time out. I think Yeah, I guess I'm agnostic on it still. I really like being able to have full control over everything, and I think I'm probably quite a difficult colleague. I think I'm quite opinionated on the way that things should be.
Okay.
I think that might be true of all developers, but it might be more true of me than others. And so I like being able to just, to just do my own thing. And the other thing that I really enjoy is being able to not have anyone depend on the way that I use my time. I think that was, if I want to, not that I've stopped working for a very, very long time, although, I do 50-50 day off parenting now. So
what's that
every
mean?
second day I'm not working at all.
What's that
We
mean?
share the parenting with Sage, our little boy, and it's day on, day off.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Cool. Okay.
So there is that, but I think I like being able to just if I want to stop working for a month, that's fine. I could do that. For the most part, not right now.
Wow. That resonates a little bit with me too, as someone who, one of the things that I will be doing sooner than later is creating, because I have a lot of different ideas too. I'm not in the development or app development space, but I have ideas that, eventually as I continue with what I'm doing and networking and stuff, maybe some of these ideas come to fruition when someone believes in it as much as I do, and we can kind of collaborate and stuff. But before getting to that point, when it comes to like what my specialty is musically, it is creating music from scratch, not using sample packs, not using loops, but just having the keyboard in front of me, finding a sound, creating a melody, putting a drum loop with it, and just making it sound just really interesting, like from nothing. And I have a ton of these so-called super loops of like stuff that's not necessarily mixed or arranged yet, but it just sounds really compelling. You can turn it into something that sounds really good. And so, I got wind about this market of people who aren't like me, people who can take these ideas and really make them take off by manipulating them and chopping samples and doing all these other things, pitch shifting and all that, and arranging it in such a way to make it sound great. So I know that one of my paths forward right now is like to be sort of a destination for people for sample packs and loops, and in a specific way that's different than the stuff that I've been researching. Because I've been thinking about this for a while. I'm very like you, meticulous on how I go about doing it, and I know what I want my website to look like, and I know what I don't want it to look like. For example, what I don't want is like one of the websites where you go there and there's like maybe 100 or 200, like clips of different sounds or something where it's just like, how do you know what's where? I want like probably to start my 9 best sounding pieces of music that I've ever created in my 16 years of doing this, and have those like best things, only about 9 to 10. I'm thinking 9 because I like the 3x3 grid on my website, and thinking about how to do this. Do I want to sell them? Do I want to give some? I'm thinking like a couple of them will be free, and I'm thinking a couple of them will be some price that is the perfect price point of quality versus not people thinking like, oh, I can't afford to pay that. So I'm thinking about all these things, and I'm very excited about the fact that these conversations that we're having, the fact that the app tutorials for Loopy Pro, which are certainly going to be coming on my channel, along with these other apps that I use, people using these apps will be able to have a way of using some of my music and my content within the apps. And that's like it's an exciting thought process. That's like the next thing for me, like in terms of my sort of progression, and I'm very, very excited to kind of get there.
Sounds good. We should chat, actually. That's something that I would like for Loopy Pro too. Loopy Pro is going to ship with a sample pack.
Oh wow!
Which has about 200 and something different loops in it,
yeah.
Which I commissioned from a lovely bloke in Germany. but yeah, I can't do that myself. I'm I think probably a few fiddle and concertina samples would not go over particularly well.
Maybe one or two.
So maybe one or two. Yeah. So something that I want in Loopy is something akin to a marketplace. I want to be able to. And I kind of want two things from it. I want to be able to make it easy for people to bring in loop content, so have it right there within the app and they can download it.
Yeah.
And also, I'd like to be able to offer a way for Loopy users and others to make some income too. I love musicians, and I feel very kind of protective of the music world, especially now during this bloody pandemic. And yeah, I like the idea of having a few partnerships with people, possibly more, possibly even something where you can sort of something like an app store of loops, you know. I mean, I know that's been done before, but I want to do it well and have it something that's very personable and very democratic as well. And so I think I would like to have that at some point.
You are talking my language, and I'm even thinking about, I mean, we can collaborate like that, and then like we'll take the conversation offline for sure, but I'm thinking about like on the app store thing, like what makes it different. Well, instead of just potentially a picture of the person who you're supporting and who you're listening to their music, like a picture and a blurb about them, or even like a little video maybe, or like something about them where it's like it's a little bit more personal, would be nice. Would be really really cool to see, because I'm with you on that 100%, like about the fact that there's so many people doing the music thing. And so for you to have, and this is another, like when I was talking about the app stuff and like the ideas that I have for stuff that I think would be amazing, for you to have a platform that can and will like support, what's the word, like nourish the creativity with people, but also to be able to support people who are creatives and stuff is incredible in its own right. And that's, talking about legacy stuff and all that, that's something that's very just really cool that you're thinking about it that way as well. So that's kudos to you on that.
I think it's important. I think I recently the conspiracy theorist friend I was talking about,
making another cameo in the conversation.
Yeah, that's right. I licensed some of his music for the First Look video, and you know, I said, you know, this actually works really well, and can I license it? And then I went and did some research about how much would it be and how does that work, and I found it's so ridiculous. There's quite a few sites that offer royalty-free audio, and it's like, you know, full songs, really high quality stuff, and you pay. There's a free trial for 7 days, and then you pay something like, I don't know, $14 a month or something, and it's unlimited. You just download whatever you want. And I was thinking, what are the musicians? What's in it for the musicians who've created all this stuff? What are they getting? It's absurd.
Yeah.
And I like the idea of offering something that's a bit more fair and and accessible too. I think something about the App Store which is really great is that it's right there. You know, you don't have to get out your credit card. There's no going around. You don't have to do the runaround to get stuff. You know, download it from the website, figure out how to extract the zip, and then I like it having it all be there. And then if you find something nice, you just tap and it's paid, and the money goes off to the artist. And I really like that idea. I think that could be quite nice.
You have no idea. You probably do, based on this little prefix of this statement. But you have no idea how serendipitous. It's a good word, right? This conversation, this part of the conversation is, because I wasn't necessarily thinking through those lenses really at all, honestly. But meaning a collaboration aspect. But because that's where I'm at in my journey right now, and because the other place that I'm at is like the 1 + 1 is more than 2, which is that when there's ways to collaborate with people, and other developers, other musicians, in whatever type of capacity, and the outcome of that collaboration is better than the sum of its parts, which I think for sure would be in a case like this, in my opinion, then it's the type of stuff that I'm all about right now. Because just like you mentioned, we're all creatives. We're all trying to find our way and figure things out, and it's great that there are other people like you who are kind of thinking through that same lens of, okay, we're in our lane, but there's a way to uplift, right, other musicians in your particular example, which in turn I imagine is going to uplift you and your, you know, your app, because it's going to make things
certainly,
easier.
Floats all boats kind of a thing.
That's right.
Rises all boats. I don't know what that phrase is.
Something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a little bit akin to what, I hate to say it, social media, because it has such negative connotations for me these days, but the way that it's enabled people to connect, I mean, it has plenty of disadvantages as well, of course, but the thing is, I think there are so many people working away in their studios who have talent, but might not have the complete thing that can, you know, take them, as you say, from having some really compelling loops to having a complete produced, you know, that's a really broad feature set that you need to possess to be able to monetize your creativity. Like, you kind of, in this world right now, you sort of need to either be lucky or have the whole lot.
Yeah.
So being able to take it some of the way and then work with others and connect, I think is good. And I don't think there's a widespread easy way to do that right now. Maybe I'm wrong. I think I'm sure there are some who have tried that sort of network approach with content, but I want to give it a crack.
Man, I mean, you're talking about, you know, I don't want to make it sound too monumental, but yeah, the stuff that you're
seismic.
Yes. I don't want, you know what I'm saying? I mean, like, I didn't say it that time, but that's what I was thinking. Yeah, it's like what people have been waiting for. I think I have been, right? A place like this, and it's gonna be a great time, and I'm looking forward to being a part of it in a way that makes sense for both parties, and it's gonna be really, really cool. I'm excited for you.
There's another 7 years work.
Yeah, no big deal. No big deal. And then
that's all right. Our little one's starting school in a couple of years, so
there you go.
We're gonna be able to work at a breakneck pace again.
That's it. We have a little one on the way, man. Our first child. Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. April 22, April 15th, 2022 next year. And just
got some prep work to do.
Yeah, definitely, for sure, and just getting my mind right for it. And I
read all of Janet Lansbury's books.
Is that right?
Listen to her podcast. That is the best parenting advice I can offer. That woman is amazing.
Okay.
The parenting philosophy is it's a game changer. It is, in fact, seismic.
It's a great word. It is.
Yeah, it is.
It is a great word, seismic. I'm going to definitely check that out. I appreciate that. I'm one who appreciates things like that, whereas I know some people are like sensitive to getting feedback from others about parenting and stuff. Unfortunately, I mean, I get it for sure. I'm not that.
I get that too.
Yeah, because it can be overwhelming,
especially if it's crappy advice, which it usually is.
Right. Yeah. Oh, you're having a child?
Yeah.
You need to do that. Really? Do I need, like, what? Who's that? Like, you know, why do I need to? Right. But no, I definitely appreciate that. I'm not gonna ask you to say it again so I can write it down, because this is recorded, and I will just go back to it. And
it's true. It's all there.
Yeah, it's all there. So
it is an amazing philosophy, though. Just really, really short version of it is that children are, it's mostly common sense. Children are developing creatures. They don't have the self-regulation that we do. You know, we need to be that for them. And so, you know, the name of one of her books is No Bad Kids. And that's the idea that if you see dysregulated behavior, you know, they're painting the walls, they're running around, they're hitting their friends, it doesn't help to get upset. And in fact, it's a way of looking at looking at the behavior and understanding it in a way that doesn't create any feelings of being upset, because that's the one thing that happens as a parent. You learn whole new realms of being upset, because they know how to press your buttons.
Yeah.
But yeah, with the philosophy that, you know, the impulses that drive that behavior are bigger than they are. They're in no more control than you are of the situation. And it leads to a lot more sort of positive interactions, and it can turn even infuriating interactions into really loving sort of growth things.
Yeah.
It's very beautiful.
That's great. Yeah, I will definitely check that out. I have one book that's sitting on my nightstand that was in the guest room where I would sometimes just go in there because, like, light, I don't have the light on in the main bedroom and stuff. So I would go there and read a little bit. But it was kind of like out of sight, out of mind. So I like brought that back into the main bedroom so I can see it constantly. And I want to kind of get back into like having that be a regular thing because I missed like a few days of just taking 20 minutes, taking an hour, whatever, some time out each day to just soak in a little bit. So I plan on continuing with that today so that I can kind of just as best as I can each day, like get some type of perspective, right? And what are the things right now that I can be doing to support Jessica, support my wife, and make sure that she's good, aside from just the things that might seem obvious, like, oh, do you want something to eat? You want anything special? Like, I can do that. That's like easy, but there's other things that are probably I'm not thinking about and not aware of that I want to really try to make sure that I'm there for before.
Good on you. That's fantastic.
And after. Yeah.
You'll do fine.
I'll be good. I'll be good. It's easy, right?
Yeah.
No
trouble.
No problem. That's probably not easy, but yeah. But yeah, just thank you again, for the time, and I'll definitely reach out to you in the coming days and weeks, right, to kind of like time it properly, like in terms of the release, whether we both think it makes sense to do it, but right before or right after. Like I said, it would most likely be a Thursday at 3, which is when these get released. But I mean, I can move things around and stuff to kind of coincide nicely in a strategic way. And then I'm feeling even more motivated about the sample thing that you and I were just talking about, because now that kind of gives me just a little bit more of a push to like get things organized and like finally start like making things actually usable, as opposed to having this idea that's been in my mind where I've just kind of been stalling getting the file management together and all these other aspects that I need to do. So I'm excited to have
what that feels like.
yeah.
Procrastinating.
Oh man. Well, it's the name of the game, unfortunately, in some capacities. But then you get it back, right? You get it back. You have serendipitous conversations like this, and kind of get to a point where you're like, oh, let me get this going again. So definitely excited about that. So. Have an awesome rest of your day, first off. And again, it's just
Thank you.
So weird that it's 9:00 p.m. over here.
Yeah, I know. It's very strange.
It's very, very bizarre, but definitely enjoyed.
And it's September over here, so that's nice.
There we go. Perfect. That's good stuff, man. That really did make me laugh when you said that. I was like, man, I mean, I can't relate to that level of like, what you're going through, like being the one-man show, doing all that in terms of an app development. So I'm like, the fact that you're 2 months off, maybe that's not so bad. Maybe that's actually like,
I know, at least I got the year right.
Exactly. It could have been worse, basically, right?
That's true. No, it's pretty wild.
Man, that's so funny.
Yeah.
But
burning it at both ends.
That's it, man. Have an awesome rest of your day. And we're all, no pressure, but we're all looking forward to this this seismic shift. How many times did I say seismic in this conversation? Like at least 6, 7?
Yeah, I think we're about 6 or 7. I reckon we could fit in a couple more before we finish, though.
Perfect. Seismic. Okay, there we go. At least 2 more real quick. But thank you very much, man. Really appreciate it.
It's my great pleasure. Thanks for getting me away from the awful debugging French.
That was my great pleasure, man. All right. See you next time.